So what drew you to this project?
In college, we spend 4 years discussing climate change, the negative impacts on the environment, on society, and on everyone around us. And this project is kind of the first opportunity that I've had to really focus on both of those social and environmental issues at the same time, and really work to not only bring renewable energy to communities in a concrete, sustainable way that's really proven to be very effective, but also in a way that directly benefits communities and those who will most need that help when climate change becomes much more prevalent in society. I've been really lucky to be a part of this project, and I think that the interdisciplinary side of it really makes this a standout project for me.
CHERP, the Community Home Energy Revolution Project, began as an organization focused on retrofitting homes in the Claremont area to make them more energy efficient and environmentally friendly. Now, they've launched an initiative known as Factories for the Future, which aims to redefine the solar manufacturing process across the United States. CHERP aims to build solar microfactories that will be sponsored by different nonprofit organizations in underserved areas that have borne the brunt of environmental injustice. By bringing manufacturing back to these areas, CHERP will also be providing local jobs and revitalizing economies in these communities. Through this mixed non- and for-profit model, these factories will be able to provide approximately 6,000 local low- and middle-income community members with solar panels per year. Just earlier this year, CHERP opened its prototype factory in Pomona, which they will be sponsoring themselves as a proof of concept. Once certification for production is complete, CHERP will begin rolling out the cutting-edge idealPV panels that eliminate hotspots, the last major hazard for silicon solar panels.
One of the reasons this project is so exciting for us as students is because we get to use the knowledge that we've gained in our computer science courses and our physics courses and kind of conglomerate all of this into a way to bring these new factories to communities that really need them. And it's really just so exciting because these factories benefit these communities in several different ways. One, it's great that we're bringing all of this solar energy to communities that otherwise might not be able to afford it. But on top of that, the factories are meant to work in a way that training is easy so that local community members can be the ones who are manning the factory and making these panels, doing the manufacturing themselves, rather than having panels that are made overseas. Because in this case, to buy those panels, you're losing money from the community. Whereas in this case, in the CHERP model, the money's being reinvested back in these communities that need it the most, that need access to these renewable energy sources, that need help and a break in some of the energy costs that they would otherwise be expending, and help right some of the environmental injustice that's been done in these communities to kind of bring everyone together and bring the renewable energy transition across the board, not just to those who are wealthy enough to afford it.
To help showcase this effort, CHERP brought on help from local collegiate teams at Harvey Mudd, Pomona, and Cal Poly Pomona to focus on the expansion of factories within LA County. LA County was not only chosen since all three colleges as well as CHERP reside there, but because it also has the most ambitious sustainability plan in the nation. Specifically, CHERP's microfactory model would tackle Goal 7A, bringing 10 gigawatts of new distributed energy sources to LA County by 2045. This would equate to about 30 million new solar modules in this time. If we continue to buy most of our panels overseas where they are currently manufactured, this would result in $5 billion that would leave LA County. However, through CHERP's model, this $5 billion could be reinvested right here at home, and all of this can be achieved if around 15 factories can be built in the county's most vulnerable communities. The energy produced by panels from just one of these factories can pull tens of thousands of metric tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere every year. And on top of that, the panels help reinvest millions of dollars into the economies in these underserved communities. Thanks to the energy savings, residents who receive the free panel installation will collectively see approximately $6.5 million more in disposable personal income. When we look at the effect that 15 of these factories would have in the county, the numbers are only more impressive, jumping into the hundreds of thousands of metric tons of CO2 removed, billions of dollars reinvested, and almost 100 million more in DPI across these communities. Our first objective in helping start more of these factories was to first figure out what communities it was best to locate them in. CHERP already had some connections in various communities across LA County, but we wanted to help provide them with hard evidence that could be presented in favor of building a factory to local leadership. This led us to the creation of a GIS map after congregating data from several different sources. Ultimately, our chosen criteria were separated into 3 tiers of importance. The lowest tier contains various environmental and justice metrics, predominantly focused on pollution. The middle tier contains mostly demographic groups that the presence of a factory would most benefit, such as high school completion rate and linguistic isolation. In the top tier are metrics that the presence of a factory would help alleviate, such as energy burden and unemployment rate. The tiers are roughly arranged into a ratio of importance of 1 to 2 to 3. When taking these weights into account and combining the data into an overall score, this produced an interactive GIS map with our areas of most concern showing up in the warmer colors. This allowed us to provide further evidence for communities that were already interested in a factory, and also locate potential sites that should be reached out to in order to start the process of building and sponsoring a factory of their own. Our final task was to split into smaller groups and focus on 4 specific sites in order to further the creation of factories in these communities. We chose 1 site for each of the supervisorial districts: Compton, Panorama City, Long Beach, and Lancaster, with the Pomona site already being in District 1. Each of our groups has spent the final part of the semester attempting to establish what CHERP refers to as a core energy group at these sites. Core energy groups are a collection of individuals that are spearheading the process of bringing a factory to their community with a range of backgrounds: local government, those with previous nonprofit work, community outreach, local artists, environmentalists, workforce development, and more. Our teams have started reaching out to all these types of people over the last month, building connections and furthering the conversation of bringing a factory to these sites. Currently, we already have several community members interested in the project in Compton, and we're looking to bring in more soon. In Panorama City, we have had conversations with the Environmental Office of Supervisor Kuehl with the hopes of then keeping the conversation going when Supervisor Horvath steps in. In Long Beach, the beginnings of a group was already established, but we have begun to help them seek more members as well as start to submit grant applications for funding. In Lancaster, we have begun conversations and started connecting to community services in order to get in contact with other groups in the area who would be interested in the project. This project here in LA County is only the beginning. CHERP's plan would ultimately connect factories sponsored by different nonprofits nationwide in what they call the Locally Grown Power Network. Already, there are core energy groups established in 11 different states. With this model, CHERP presents a novel solution to equitably transition to solar energy, and it has been an amazing experience to be a part of it.